Well, despite my last video saying that we weren't going to do anything else until September, I'm back in the village in Buriram, and I've come back to a really big surprise. Suntray's only arrived back today. They have been so busy in the last 2 weeks. The last section of wall has been put up, just in front of where Suntray is digging now. They've built a retaining wall going up the driveway, and they've put the driveway in today. Well, they've put the slope in today, and the rest of it was done obviously a few days ago. And it really does look very, very good. I'm really impressed. So, I've missed the actual construction of it, but you've seen it all before anyway, because the final section of wall and the retaining wall have been built the same as the rest of the retaining wall. And as you can see, it's nice and thick. That is a good 30 centimetres thick, so there's very little chance of that moving because of the weight of soil or water behind it. And this driveway is very, very well sloped, I have to say. I'm well impressed. And this flat area is exactly as I said to Suntray that I think we should have. Hopefully it's not totally flat, hopefully it does actually drain away slightly. But I wanted to have two sections of the wall where we could park a car up the top here without it having to go in the garage. For things like washing and cleaning it. And it does look fantastic. And it's going to make the building of the rest of the house. It's going to make building of the house, because we seem to have done everything a little bit back to front here. But it's going to make it a lot easier, because we'll be able to get vehicles up here. I'll be able to park my car up here, out of the way of all the mud and the animals that go by. And our deliveries will be able to be made to this flat area here of any sand or other things like that we need. Yes. Our pipe work isn't very good, is it? They're all at funny angles, but it doesn't really matter, because they're all going to be cut off near ground level in the bathrooms and outside, so the odd angles won't be noticeable or even matter. So we've got all the blocks inside ready for starting the walls, which will start now in earnest. Yes. Well impressed. So different from the last time I arrived here after a break. And my darling Suntray kept this a secret from me all the time, and she set off extra early from Bangkok, where she's been working for a week. She set off extra early this morning to get here in time to help with the pouring of this slope. And I think she did the flat bit before she actually went to work. So, yeah. Good morning, good morning. So, here I am again, back at the building site after yesterday's very pleasant surprise with the drive and the final bit of wall being completed. That's Suntray's brother-in-law. Yes, after yesterday evening's excitement, back to the reality of today, which is to start doing the pipes. So they removed the mains, the temporary mains pipe that was around there, and they capped off the mains pipe under the ground here before they did the concrete. But obviously something's not quite right, because there's water coming out this morning. Morning and evening is when they turn the village pump on. So this will be running now for a couple of hours, and I expect it was running last night for a few hours as well. So where I've parked my car next door is very, very wet. So the mains pipe is not very big, it's about 2 inches, 2.5 inches, and it runs along here, along the edge of where the concrete road will eventually be. Suntray has already dug a big hole here to expose it. That is the mains pipe, and we need to tee off from there, and we need to end up taking a pipe through that little hole there in the wall. So my job today is to get ready for someone to come along and tee off that pipe. So I'm going to set up the meter out here with the pipe work and start running the pipe to the big tank in the corner. Let's take you back inside. This drive is a little bit higher than I would have made it. I would have taken that underground at the point where it finishes. So we've got a bit of a step here to deal with. We might have to lay a little bit of an angled bit of concrete along to get our cars in and out, or compact some very heavy earth that's not going to get washed away by the rain. But that's okay, we can deal with that. And eventually this dirt road will become a concrete road, and I would suggest that they've laid a dirt road which is quite heavy dirt. It's very, very compact and hard, especially with the traffic that goes over it. I would suggest that they would lay concrete pretty much directly on top of that when it comes to it. So the level of the road will come up by about 15 centimetres, which will probably just about meet our driveway anyway. No building work going on today because there's a social event in Suntray's sister and brother-in-law's house. His brother is becoming a monk, so they've got a big ceremony going on starting later today with food cooking and preparations, and then kicking off tomorrow for real. So today is the day when I want to connect up this big tank at the end here and start to get it filled. So I need to dig a little bit of a trench along here, which I've already started, to lay a pipe just under the ground. This earth, when it's finally got its level, will be covered in stones, so I'm not going to lay the pipe too deep, just deep enough to protect it really from things put on top of it, sharp objects that might end up penetrating the layers of stone slightly, but still very accessible for repairs. Not that there will be any repairs, because I will make sure that everything is well glued and it doesn't leak. Anyway, that's the plan today, so I'm going to set the camera up and get digging. Right, gonna stop the time lapse there for a moment, just to explain the next thing that's got to happen. So I've got to position this tank, and I've got to position it in a way that means that the mains feed, which goes sort of the reverse side of this valve here, you can see, I've got to position it so that's accessible for service. And I plan to put the pump, which is there, that's the water pump. The plan is to put the water pump down here somewhere. The idea being that we can feed the power either through a pipe through the wall into a socket inside the house, or we can have a socket outside conveniently on the back of the house. The other place for the pump would be behind this blue barrel, but it means getting power to it, which means laying power either under stones or from above, neither of which I'm in favour of, because they don't sort of really have armoured cable here. They might bury it in a plastic pipe like the water pipe, but that's not sufficient in my book. So I want the pump here, which is also going to be more protected from the weather. And that means that the pipe coming out of the bottom of the tank has got to conveniently join up with the pump inlet. And so I'm thinking that I'm going to need to turn this tank around a little bit. I'd like to have the pipe coming out of that tank and the valve and the reducer that will go with it actually sitting on this concrete pad for accessibility. Otherwise the valve's got to be down the side of the pad, and there isn't a lot of room there, and we're going to add some stones of course to this, so that will reduce the room. I don't want to bury the valve, and I'd prefer to have the valve near to the tank. Or I could have the valve just before the pump. We just need to be able to isolate the big tank from the pump in case of maintenance needs. That's the only thing. So I've got to sort of jiggle around and practice my pipe work before gluing it.